I figured I would brush upon a topic that seems to be tickling everybody's fancy right about now, and that is the SOPA and PIPA bills. And you're on the internet, so you've most likely heard this because it's pretty much been crowding the internet for the past couple days, but has been building momentum in aggravation for months. Now, yesterday was the Internet Protest Day, where several websites like Wikipedia, Reddit, basically shut down in protest of the bill, as they are huge internet sites. Google had a big black censored banner over their logo on their homepage. So, a lot of attention being drawn to this. You figure I'm on the internet, I'm a YouTuber, obviously hugely opposed to this bill, and don't get me wrong, I am. There are some things I'd like to talk about in regards to it. Now, the whole SOPA thing brings about a multitude of different reactions that you'll see from people. You have one, the people who are well educated on the thing. They've done their research, and they know what it's about. They're making smart arguments against. You have the people that are just going with the flow. They see there's a big, big fuss going on about it. Oh, I'm against it. You have the people who are pretty much apathetic, or just basically like, oh my god, can't get on Wikipedia. Stupid fucking bill thing, man. Who gives a crap at Congress, man? And little do they realize that, this bill would probably be a huge detriment to Wikipedia anyway, so... And what I feel about this is I definitely do not think SOPA PIPA is a good thing, because yes, basically what people said, it destroys the internet, and it really would, and I've had a lot of issues with copyright and all that crap, and the whole Viacom and the whole copyright debate, fair usage. This war has been going, war in very melodramatic terms, has been going on for years on YouTube, and I've been with it a lot of the time because I like to use music in my videos. I like to use, movie clips, and I've gotten, it's been a big problem progressing my channel, because every time I apply for partnership, I get denied. I'd had too much third-party material or whatever, and I know it's just been a big thing. From that aspect, I just think SOPA's stupid, because I think we should be moving forward, because I don't see the big deal of using a song and like a video. I don't think that's a big deal. It's really ridiculous, and it just shows the greed of the industry, and it's really over the top. But then again, there is piracy, and piracy, okay, I pirate. I do. I'm not gonna not admit that. I've done it. I'm not really into it. Like, I go to the movies. Like, all the movies you see me review, the vast majority of them, I go to the movies because I want to give the industry my money. Even though, sometimes they're douchey. Piracy can only work when it stays a minority, a very small percentage of people. Because at that point, piracy is always gonna happen. You're not gonna be able to stop piracy, whatever form it is, because I'm sure piracy that's referenced to in, legal documents from hundreds of years ago is a lot different than piracy today. Because when you get the mentality of everybody should pirate, or if you're pro-piracy, it's because, why would you want to give the industry money, they're over... Well, yes, it's true, the industry does overprice, but when you think about the mentality of if you think everybody should pirate, then there's no money going into the industry. So let's say you're watching a pirated movie. That movie took money to be made, and when you're watching, and let's say nobody or a very, very few amount of people pay to see that movie, then the industry they don't have funds to continue making these movies, and therefore you have nothing to torrent. So the mentality basically is give nothing to the industry, and the industry dies. One of the things that I feel like could slightly justify that is the fact that industries do overprice. Mainly now in the movie industry. The music industry has been overpricing for years. But pretty much, I think the fact that music is completely digitized at this point, no one really buys me. I mean, I'm sure it'd be a lot harder to, pirate a vinyl record 40 years ago, now that it is easier to pirate MP3s. When you look at like the movie industry, one of the few industries not really affected by the economic collapse a couple years back, they were doing really well because people thought, okay, this is a relatively cheap form of entertainment, I'm gonna go to the movies. They did really well for a while. They're like, what could we do to make this better? Let's say we take the people who are only coming to us because we're cheaper than, other mediums, let's make them pay a lot more because that'll benefit us. but only did they realize that after so long and all the 3D crap, that people stop going altogether. And once you get that bad word of mouth of overpricing, the thing that made the movie industry healthy for a while just went to shit. And that's why movie decline for the past 2 years have fallen significantly down. I mean, ticket sales have been down for a while, but now the equilibrium between raising prices and ticket sales have been enough where, yeah, less tickets are sold, but the additional money made from price hikes has, eliminated that, that difference. But now it's so much that they're not making as much money as they used to be, because people realize that they can, well, of course, you can still pay for, DVD services and whatnot, but people can torrent, and it's very easy. And once you get people on doing that, they realize, well, I shouldn't have to pay for movies ever again, and then they just continue torrenting. So you kind of screwed yourself, movie industry, to the point of no return. But maybe if you just lowered prices, you get some customers back. I don't think the problem entirely lies with the pirators or pirateers, and I don't necessarily think the problem entirely lies with the industry. I think the industry, if they were I don't get their mentality, because it's pretty obvious to see what happens. They'll blame it on bad movies or they'll blame it on a multitude of things, but the fact is people don't want to pay that much for a ticket. But the real problem with SOPA is that it's so widely based that it wouldn't just stop pirating, but it would just basically give them the rights to do whatever they wanted to censor the internet, and I think that's the problem. Because sure, they can start off be like, oh, we're just going to get rid of piracy because that's bad. But then, they have the open forum to basically do away with whatever they don't like. It's basically just going to be jumping through loopholes to get a website shut down or this or that. And they don't realize that that kind of thing would just strangle the internet to death. On to another point. One of my favorite things that SOPA has done is that immediately, this is the one thing that could affect the internet on a mass scale. This just brings them up and, the world could be crashing down in Armageddon behind them. I mean, the world's been crappy for years, and they would just be like, oh, whatever, just totally oblivious. But one thing threatens torrenting and everything's freaking out, everybody protests. Because I think there are enough other problems in the world that kind of are a little more of a big deal than this. Don't get me wrong, I think SOPA's stupid. And the amount of talk I heard about this, using a reference point, in comparison to the National Defense Authorization Act, that, came in controversy a couple months ago, really not that many people talked about that, but SOPA's everywhere. And, I don't know about you, but the bill, and I know that there's some consternation surrounding that, and there might have been some scuffled information, and I've tried to do as much research as I can on it, but there is still some confusion as to some of the finer points. But essentially, a bill that basically turns the U.S. into a war zone where the military can up and arrest us with no questions asked and detain us without promise of a trial for an indefinite period of time. Now, I don't know about you guys, but that scares me just a little bit more than the possibility of no more free music. Because, you see everybody freaking out about SOPA, but just that seems like a bit more of a daunting thing. Now, I'm not one of those people that walks around with a constitution everywhere, but that basically, I think, destroys some fundamental rights of that document. And don't get me wrong, SOPA, to a certain extent, does infringe on some of those things, but also the Constitution, I don't think it was really meant to be writing about the internet age. I'm sorry, but 1780s, I don't think that they had in mind the same kind of piracy that we do. So where I stand on SOPA is that the Piracy Act, it makes sense. Now, do I completely support what they're doing? No, because basically most of the people in Congress really don't understand the internet world, and that's kind of evident in why they don't realize the adverse effects of it. But I think the copyright parts are just so over the top. Because, if you have a TV on in the background and it's showing some copyright material, you're gonna get jail time. I mean, come on, it's just so ridiculous. The problem with SOPA is that it doesn't just tackle the parts that are detrimental to our industry, it tackles pretty much everything on such a wide range that it would basically give the government a chance to pick apart the internet of things they don't like. But back to the industries, I also think they need to look at themselves and realize they're greedy bastards. Because if you lower the prices, you might want to realize that people might start to buy it more. So anyway, tell me what you think of SOPA, or the National Defense Authorization Act, all this stuff, and what you think of industry, price inflation and all of that. I'm happy we had a chance to have this talk.